The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Kelric of the Vraxian Empire delivered his ultimatum. His 6 eyes gleamed with contempt as he addressed the human delegation, seated across the crystalline floor. Humanity has 3 standard cycles to surrender all colony worlds beyond the Sol system, Kelric announced, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Failure to comply will result in total annexation. We await your response. The council members, representatives from 47 species spanning 3 galactic arms, waited for the predictable human outburst. Surely they would protest, threaten, or plead. The humans were known for their verbose nature, their endless diplomatic speeches, their passionate defenses of abstract concepts like freedom and sovereignty. Instead, Ambassador Chenwei sat perfectly still. She didn't rise from her chair. She didn't activate her translator for a response. She simply looked at Kelric with an expression that might have been pity, though the Vraxian couldn't quite interpret human facial muscles. "Well?" Kelric demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Have you nothing to say, human?" Chen reached for her data tablet with deliberate slowness. She typed something briefly, then set it down. Still, she said nothing. Laughter rippled through the council. The Thaxian delegates' gills fluttered with amusement. The crystalline Zephrons chimed their equivalent of chuckles. Even the normally stoic Megarians allowed themselves a collective humming that signified mirth. "The humans are speechless," declared High Arbiter Tallis, a massive being of Livingstone who presided over the council. "Perhaps they finally understand their place in the galactic hierarchy." Kelric's thorax swelled with pride. The Vraxian Empire had been expanding for 2 centuries, absorbing minor species who couldn't defend their borders. Humanity, despite their reputation for stubbornness, controlled only 14 colony worlds. The Vraxians commanded 300. This would be the easiest conquest yet. "I interpret your silence as acceptance," Kelric continued. "The Vraxian fleet will arrive at your colonies in—" Chen finally spoke, her voice quiet and measured. "What time is it, Arbiter Tallis?" The chamber fell silent again, this time confused rather than amused. "What?" Tallis rumbled. "I asked what time it is," Chen repeated. "According to Galactic Standard Time." Tallis checked his chronometer, bewildered by the non-sequitur. "Hour 17, minute 43, second 18. Chen nodded slowly. "Thank you." She paused, then added, "You should probably check your emergency communication channels." Kelric's multiple eyes narrowed. "What are you—" Every council member's personal communicator erupted simultaneously. Priority alerts, urgent military dispatches, emergency broadcasts from home worlds. The Thaxian delegate gasped, her gills turning pale. "Impossible." "By the crystalline depths," whispered a Zephron representative. Kelric's claws trembled as he read the reports flooding his datapad. "This cannot be. Our forward fleet at Proxima, destroyed. Our staging ground at Kepler 442, destroyed. Our shipyards at—" His voice failed. Chen stood, and every eye in the chamber turned to her. When she spoke, her voice carried a weight that made the very air seem heavier. "Let me clarify something about human diplomatic protocol," she said. "When we attend council sessions, we don't come to negotiate after you make threats. We come to inform you of decisions already made." She gestured to her tablet. "I received Ambassador Kelric's ultimatum 48 hours ago through back channels. The moment I read it, I forwarded it to my superiors. They made their decision in 6 minutes." "What decision?" Tallis demanded, his stone face cracking with something that might have been fear. "Article 7 of the Human Colonial Charter states that any existential threat to human sovereignty permits preemptive military action without congressional approval," Chen explained calmly. 47 hours ago, we launched our response. Not 47 hours from now. 47 hours ago. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, demanding explanations, calling for intervention. Chen continued as if addressing an empty room. "You see, most species view war as a sequence of events. Threat, negotiation, preparation, deployment, combat. But humans learned something during our own world wars. Something we've never forgotten. The side that strikes first strikes hardest, and strikes without warning usually wins. We've been watching the Vraxian Empire expand for decades. We've been planning for this scenario for years." She pulled up a holographic display that painted the chamber in blue light. It showed the Vraxian Empire's territory, but entire sections were now marked in red. Every major Vraxian military installation within 30 light-years of human space has been neutralized, Chen said. We used relativistic kinetic missiles, mass accelerated to 0.97 light speed. They were launched weeks ago, following ballistic trajectories completely passive, undetectable. No shields can stop them. No sensors can track them. By the time you see them, they've already hit. Kelrick collapsed into his seat, his exoskeleton clicking rapidly in distress. You attacked us. Before we attacked you? You declared your intention to annex our worlds, Chen corrected. That's not a hypothetical threat. That's an act of war. We simply acknowledge the reality before you did. The Megarian delegate's synthetic voice crackled to life. This is a violation of every galactic treaty on military engagement. Chen turned to face the collective consciousness. With respect, Arbiter, those treaties were written by species who had never faced extinction. Humanity has, multiple times in our history. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times over. We learned to recognize existential threats and respond before they fully materialize. We call it strategic deterrence. You call it murder, the Thaxian delegate hissed. We call it survival, Chen replied coldly. And before any of you consider retaliatory action, know this. We didn't just strike Vraxian military targets. We mapped the military infrastructure of every potential threat in this sector of space. Right now there are 1,700 kinetic missiles in flight, all following ballistic trajectories, all targeted at military installations of every empire that has ever made territorial threats. They won't arrive for months or years, but they're already launched, already committed, already unstoppable. The silence that fell over the chamber was absolute. Even Talus, ancient and nearly invulnerable, seemed diminished. If any of those missiles' intended targets prove to be friendly when they arrive, Chen continued, we've included detailed deactivation protocols in the data package I just transmitted to each of you. But understand this clearly. Those missiles will reach their destinations. The only question is whether they'll be met with military installations or empty space. She picked up her data tablet and walked toward the chamber exit. At the doorway, she paused and looked back at the stunned assembly. Humanity sought peace. You offered war. We simply answered first. She smiled then, a cold expression that didn't reach her eyes. In the future, perhaps consider this before threatening us. Human silence isn't submission. It's calculation. When we stop talking, it's not because we have nothing to say. It's because we've already said everything with actions you haven't yet detected. Ambassador Chen Wei left the chamber. Behind her, the galactic powers began to understand a terrible truth. Humanity didn't negotiate during conflicts. They negotiated the peace after conflicts they'd already won. The missiles had been launched long before anyone laughed at human silence. That was the point. The age of underestimating humanity ended precisely at hour 17, minute 43, second 18, Galactic Standard Time. Not because humans demonstrated their weapons, but because they demonstrated something far more terrifying, their willingness to use them before anyone realized the war had begun. In the days that followed, treaties were hastily rewritten, borders were respected, ultimatums became negotiations, and throughout the galaxy, one lesson was learned universally. When dealing with humans, listen carefully to what they don't say. Their silence speaks louder than any threat.